Hey guys, hope everything's going well. You guys know that drill. Smash that like button, subscribe to this AIH Finance channel, and also subscribe to my AIH Sports channel if you are interested in sports cards. Okay, so today I wanted to touch base on Bitcoin. I don't trade Bitcoin. I may dabble in their new ETF one of these days, but I saw this one video by Jeff Snyder. He's over at Alhambra Partners or Investment, whatever it is. I see some of his videos on YouTube that he does with one of his buddies. And he talks about how Bitcoin likes short term tips. So, tips, from my understanding, they have a 5 year tips yield and a 10-year tips yield. And basically, it's inflation protected securities, long story short. And I believe that these tips yields are a good indicator of positive interest rates versus negative interest rates. And long story short, negative interest rates are good for collectibles and the commodities indices, while positive interest rates are probably better for other assets, not for collectibles, not for gold, silver, etc. And Snyder's research showed that the 5 year tips shows somewhat of a correlation between Bitcoin. It sounds crazy to think that, okay, finally we could probably get an understanding of what's going on with Bitcoin. And you have to remember in 2017, Bitcoin topped out, or right around December, I believe. And what was happening in December, the rates were turning more positive. The tips yield was going up, and Bitcoin topped out right then. And you have to remember 2018 was a year where the 10-year tips, it was like a little bit above one and a half. And that was a good year to buy sports cards. I was buying sports cards left and right. Or I started to get back in sports cards. I happened to get in at the right time. And fast forward to 2020, Bitcoin bottomed out at 3,000. A contrary indicator for Bitcoin was the CBOE, one of the exchanges that had Bitcoin futures. They said we're not going to sell futures anymore. So you had Bitcoin for a few years. It went down from 20,000 to 3,000. And then you had the crash of 2020 because they were shutting everything down. Some people said it had to deal with the repo issues. Before, you also had the inverted yield curve. Whatever you want to say of what happened in 2020, they started injecting all this liquidity into the system, and you had interest rates go negative on the 5 year tips, 10-year tips. And you saw Bitcoin's price increase, went from $3,000 to $40,000. So all these people that bought Bitcoin, I don't think a lot of them understand that it went up because, you printed all this monopoly money and interest rates were negative and institutions got behind it. But the minute the tips yield turns positive, I think it's game over for Bitcoin. Now, we're not at positive interest rates yet. We have gotten close. On the 5 year tips is at negative 0.85. The 10-year tips is 0.53. And my belief, I said this in my first video about gold is set to rally. I believe the long end bonds, they're going to see a rally, meaning a decrease in interest rates. You have the decreases in interest rates short term, then what does that do to the tips yield? It's going to make it go more negative. And I do say that the short end interest rates, like the Fed funds rates, those interest rates are going to go up. But the long end, they're going to go down. So when I just look at Bitcoin, I'm just looking at, okay, what's probably a good way, in my opinion. And once again, this is not investment advice. This is just me talking out loud. You guys can, talk to me in the comment section about this, but I'm not here to give you investment advice. I'm just here to give you my opinion. And I believe that the top, if you look at the top of the market in Bitcoin in November, it was at $66,000. That's when interest rates, the 10 years started, and the 5 year interest rates, I believe, started to go up. And I follow interest rates very closely because I sometimes trade the TLT. I trade commodities. I trade gold and silver stocks. I invest in gold and silver stocks. I invest in a lot of things too. But I look at interest rates quite more closely than other people. So I'm just looking at all of this and I'm just thinking, if interest rates continue to go lower on the 10 year, or if they go lower, temporarily speaking, this may turn Bitcoin around. I believe Bitcoin did bottom out a couple of days ago now. It didn't go up today. We see the stock market got pounded. Um, Bonds did rally, though. Gold did go up. Some of the gold stocks that I'm looking at, the ETF, silver ETFs. So it's just quite interesting. So if the negative interest rates keep on going down for the 5 year tips and 10 year tips, this could potentially be bullish for Bitcoin. But I'm not buying it. I'm just observing. And it's all about negative interest rates. And usually for sports cards, it's about negative interest rates, but you've seen sports cards go down significantly, even in a negative interest rate environment, even though inflation is at 40-year highs. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about Bitcoin. Smash that like button, subscribe to my channels, and I'll talk to you sometime soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.